So, welcome to episode 8 of the Orange and Blue Crew with myself, Jai, and my uncle Reek. Um, Life is good again. It feel like one week everything's good, and then the next week the sky might be falling. But right now, life is good. My apologies if it's a little dark in my room. I tried to close the blinds because it's kind of sunny outside. I don't like how that glare hits, but um, we got some good stuff to talk about. Obviously, 3-1 are our last four. One of those losses was a very annoying loss to the Bulls, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But the playoffs are almost here, man, and it feels good. We've successfully avoided the play-in, which is something that was very real, very possible the last time we recorded an episode. But now on today's Thursday, April 11th, and we've successfully avoided that possibility. So we cannot play in the play-in. That is great. So right now we're also trying to get to, we have a chance for that 2 seed. Giannis has an injury, and that's huge for us because if we get the really the 2 or the 3 seed avoids Boston in the second round no matter what. But then the question is, what does that first round matchup look like, which could look, there's a couple of possibilities for that because it is a bit jumbled in that, like, really that 4 to 6 range. I don't think the 7 seed has it. It's really 4 to 6. Those teams could finish any which way. And maybe even Philly. I think Philly is actually the 7 seed. So even Philly could find a way to work their way up to 6 or 5. So we'll touch on those things a little bit later. But we'll lead off with, like we mentioned, that 3-1 stretch in our last 4 games, which started with a win over the Kings. A solid win, nothing really to write home about. And then an unfortunate / annoying loss to the Bulls on the road. Just a real slow start, and it just never felt like, we ever really got going. And I believe, then Hart got ejected for accidentally kicking the dude. I get how it looks, but I mean, it was pretty obviously an accident. So I don't know how he got ejected for that. But nonetheless, Hart got ejected, and we kind of just never really looked like ourselves that night. Ended up losing. That was on Friday. Then Sunday, Brunson masterclass against Milwaukee. Finished with 43 points. That first quarter, I think I texted you guys. I was like, Brunson has 17 of our 25. Like, because I remember a few weeks ago, we were talking about how, man, like, can Brunson really just keep carrying this scoring load? And ever since then, it's just like he just does it. Like, no matter what, like if he needs to score 35, he'll score 35. If he needs to score 47, he'll score 47. If we need him to score, if there's a night where he can score 22 and everybody's eating, he's cool with that. But this is one of those nights where I was like, man, he's got 17 of our 25. It's gonna be one of those nights. But it didn't matter. Finished at 43, 16 of 32 from the field, outplayed Dame and Giannis. Shout out to Kenny Smith, who said the Knicks always had the second best player on the court. So want to salute to you for that one. So a nice 122-109 win. Dante really came alive as well, hitting some big threes late in the game in the second half. He hit 8. He was 8 for 11 from 3. So just a really, really good team win. And then, of course, OG's defense in that game, which got a lot of recognition, a lot of love on Twitter. So just a really good win on the road at Milwaukee. And then on Tuesday night, most recently, a 128-170, nothing really to write home about. Knicks took care of business, led mostly the whole game. Brunson had 45 again, made 7 threes. Dante had 21. OG had 24, which is nice to see. OG's not always going to have 24. He's very content with having like 7 points. But when he's scoring, that's usually a really good sign, and it always helps us out. And Hartenstein was 5 for 5. Really good game from him. He had 11, 4, and 6. So 3-1 in our last 4 games as we're coming down the wire here. So we'll let you start us off today, Jai. Just what do you take away from that 4-game stretch, and how do you feel about how the season is coming to a close?
Well, one thing I don't want to do this time that I always do is just gloss over Brunson, how fantastic he's been. I gotta say this, and this is like I gotta come clean. It's not like I had never did I have dislike for Brunson. I've never blamed him for a loss. I've never even thought he's had a real bad game for the Knicks. But there was something where I was like, I'm supposed to love this guy, but it's not there yet. Like I'm not a stan yet, like last season for some reason. Um, this season, like now I'm arguing on Twitter, I'm arguing in real life. We're talking about superstars, 1A. Like Brunson is my favorite player. So it's just like it feels regular that he's going out here and scoring like 45 a night. But I mean, like Darren said, I think it was like a hoops hype rating, something like
Yep, hoops
that.
hype.
It
Yep,
said he
that's
was
what it
the
is.
second best player in the world right now. He's like third in points per game. He's not on the MVP tracker or anything like that, but he should be. Yeah, I just
They entered him at sixth.
sixth. Okay.
He finally made it as sixth on
Yeah.
the tracking. It is probably Stephen A. Smith that fucking has something to do with it. I mean,
But yeah, that's good. That's good then. But yeah, I love Brunson. But also, I've been vindicated for something I said earlier. The superficial slump is over. Bojan Bogdanovic has returned to form. Um, yeah, he's looking really confident and honestly really good in the limited minutes that he has. Like he'll play 13 minutes and have like 14 points. And that's like way more than you could ever ask for. And of course, OG, I mean, those are my key takeaways is that things are starting to gel, things are starting to get into shape. We're getting more minutes out of Mitch, more minutes out of Hardenstein, less minutes of them not on the floor. I think the key to the playoffs is keeping one of them on the floor at all times. So, you know, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, and I actually feel pretty good going into the playoffs. I feel like we have a whole team, even though we're missing Randall. I feel like we have missing. Of course, it would be great to take some of that load off Brunson, but it is what it is.
How you feeling, Reek? I know you're typically. I feel like you're usually right in the middle. So where do you find yourself after the recent 4 game stretch?
Yeah, I was definitely nervous because I was trying to figure out how the team would sort of end the regular season. You know, what would sort of who would start to uh, ascend outside of, you know, the whole narrative that I think that's going into the playoffs is that we're obviously down Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson is going to have a tremendous playoffs again, right? Just in order for us to be as competitive as we are as a team. But what we're seeing right now is just this young man really ascending more into that superstar one man stratosphere. Like if kind of like what like I know AD is really good for the Lakers, but I don't trust him. I trust LeBron. And I trust that LeBron's going to come up. He's going to show up every night in some form or fashion. I mean, you had LeBron hitting like 9 threes one night. They got LeBron getting all these rebounds. He's pulling, you know, was that turning back the hands of time. He's playing amazing out there. But I trust that he's going to do that because he has been consistently a star in this league forever. Jalen Brunson is scratching that. I mean, obviously he's only been here 2 years, but the time that he was in Dallas, Luka Doncic is out. That we saw a little bit of it there, but this is who this guy is. He knows how to score, and he knows how to score in this league very easily. And like Jai was saying, like we're watching him just put on masterclass after masterclass, and against anybody. Like we knew he was going to have a good game against Milwaukee. He has a good game against. He's like averaging something like 58 points against Milwaukee. Like, Dame is like a turnstile at the point of attack. Like they know that. Everybody knows that. But again, that's a problem with Doc Rivers not understanding how to have that team defend better. I think it will be resolved somewhat in the playoffs. But what we're seeing from Brunson is he's able to attack the game in a really, really masterful way. And it almost looks fake. It's like, how does he have 17 points and everybody in the arena knows he's getting the ball, right? In the first quarter. So, you know, I'm feeling very confident going in. And the second thing that's making me feel really confident going into the playoffs, no matter what the seeding is, I mean, if we go against Boston and, you know, we have a hell of a series, I think we're all playing with house money right now. Like we play Boston at any point. We're playing Boston like we have been the entire season, missing some significant statistics, a significant player in our whole flow of our game. And with Randall being out, you do the math, he's gonna probably come back right before the season starts. I mean, I think he has surgery today. He's got 5 months until reevaluation, and that puts us right at September. Season starts normally at the end of October, going into November. So we're playing with house money right now. For some of you young folks, that's just like a poker or a card or a gambling sort of reference. I'm not a gambler. Which makes me think about the guy who's about to get banned for life for gambling. What an idiot. Michael Porter Jr.'s brother is gonna get banned for life. But yeah, I'm very confident going in. My last thing is that playoff rotation is rounding into form. And we're seeing some of these guys, which, and I think we need to maybe do a little bit of a segment on some of those guys that are going to get bumped out of the rotation or get minute minutes on this Tibbs playoff rotation. Like Precious, gone. Alec Burks, gone. Bogdanovich, you might get, like you said, 9 minutes, 30 minutes. Oh no, Bogdan. That's until he give me something good. I'm
just saying.
But I think though, we need him around. But I think you're seeing the roster coming into form in terms of the playoffs. And this team looks really, really strong. Again, we're playing the Chicagos of the world, we're the Nets of the world. We're gonna have, but we go against that Milwaukee team at full speed. At full health. I think that was a fantastic win at the end of the season. Yeah. So yeah, we're looking good. We're looking strong, and I'm confident. It's on to you, D. What you got?
Nothing really. I'm just I feel the same way as you guys, where we're just. I was kind of like you said. I was nervous as well, just in terms of what team would show up, what team would finish the season, and the right team showed up. 3-1 the last 4. You'll always take that no matter who it's against. I mean, one of those wins was against the Kings. And I guess I maybe I undersold the Kings win. I completely forgot. We were down like 21, I think, and had to come back, and then we won by 11. So my apologies actually for undermining that win, because it was a really good win.
That's a key win.
That was huge. And I mean, arguably, without that win, we're not in the situation we're in now, where we've avoided the play-in, and we can really get after that 2 seed. I think the Milwaukee game was huge in terms of seeing what a playoff game would look like. Now, is Brunson going to have 45 in every game? No. But
against them, you would.
Well, against Milwaukee, you could, because he just does that apparently. But just, on a night-to-night basis, no matter who it's against, is Brunson going to have 45 every night? No. He could be definitely – I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged 30 for the whole series, given what we've asked him to do all season long. And you said it, everybody in the arena knows 11 is getting the ball, and you're not stopping him no matter what. So, I think, he could very much do that. But I think what you're seeing is, I mean, even against Chicago, 8 guys played. And I think those are going to be the 8 guys that are finishing the season, that are going to,
We're going to war. We're going to war with them. We're going to war with the guys we got. And, Josh Hart sort of said that was like the final sort of edict at the end of that season, when he was like, look, this is what we got. Ain't nobody else coming. And OG coming back, which, we knew that would happen at some point. And he has not disappointed. That's like one of the greatest trades that, that'll go down in history as like an Anthony Mason trade for us, where, or even Larry Johnson. We picked up Larry Johnson, and, obviously everybody remembers Larry Johnson for that 4-point play, but Larry Johnson gave us a second back to the basket guy with Patrick Ewing at that time that demanded a double team. Like, you guys were very young, and I know you guys are basketball historians, so about Grandmama, but Larry Johnson was like the equivalent of Zion right now in the league, physically, athletically. That guy was scoring about 25 points a game, and then he hurt his back, and then we got him. And he completely transformed his game into becoming just like this back to the basket scoring machine for us. Where we had Big Pat, right? But then you had Larry Johnson, and the other guys were good. So, so some feedback.
No. My video started playing on my computer by accident.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh, you're not paying attention. No,
yeah, we got to edit that.
But yeah, no, I agree with I do agree with that OG sentiment on the trade, like that, because I was skeptical about, can he play through the pain, what's he gonna be like? He's come back and he's looked good. We haven't heard any screeching on the court yet, so that's always a good sign. But yeah, I feel like, look, this is what we got, however the season ends is how it ends. However, it is what it is. But I do feel a lot better about it now than maybe I did a week and a half ago, where I'm like, okay, still some questions. Is the rotation really set? But now everything's starting to come together. And I think really, I mean, just looking up and down the East, the only team that really scares me is probably Boston and maybe Orlando, just because they have given us fits. I know we haven't, we always talk about we haven't really played them at our best, but those would really be the only teams that concern me in a playoff matchup. Like, I'm not. Everyone loves to talk about the Heat. I don't care about the Heat. Like, you can't.
Yeah, I'll throw Philly into that mix too, though.
Yeah, I don't know though, because we have. I know we played that really, really bad game against Philly. I think we beat them 3 out of 4, and both 2 of those times were with Embiid, and 2 of them were blowouts. Like, it wasn't like close at all. So like, I don't really. And you're going against Embiid at at a lesser Embiid at this point than it was back then. So I mean, Philly is tough. Don't get me wrong. Philly's a good team. I do like Philly. I like Maxey, and they play well. I respect Nick Nurse as a coach. But I wouldn't. They're like right on the edge of, like, in terms of like the teams I'm worried about. Like, if Boston and Orlando were like in a tier by themselves, Philly would kind of just be like hovering just below it. But yeah, good 4-game stretch. We're coming down the home stretch. The Knicks play tonight. Obviously, we're recording this on a Thursday. So to get into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is really something I don't feel like we've done it, but I feel like not entirely. But just talking about Brunson, we talked about the Hoops Hype. For anybody who doesn't know, Hoops Hype basically compiles, it's a list of all the players in the NBA. It gives them a rating based on, basically the whole box score, entire box scores, and things like that. And for the past month, according to Hoops Hype, which is it's well respected, they've got 310,000 followers on Twitter/X. And for the last month, which is a 15-game span for Jalen Brunson has been the second best player in the world. He's got a 30.95 rating, and he's only behind Jokic, and who he had a 31.09 rating, in the past month. I don't know if there's like a scale per se. I don't know if there's like a max score or anything like that. But Jokic has always been, every time I see like the list, Jokic is usually hovering in that 30 to like 32, 33 range. So basically, Brunson's been really, really, really damn good. But my question to you is, going into the playoffs, where do you rank Brunson in a playoff field? Like, just take all the playoff teams, all the players, all the stars, and when you consider East and West, where would you rank Brunson right now? And not like in terms of like what have you done for me late, like just this season, based on what we've seen. I'll start with you, Reek.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's gonna be easy, because unlike Jai, I really love that little picture that we have as Brunson as Jesus Christ himself. Suffering through the basketball I've already like reached a point where his jersey should be, in my world, his jersey's retired. We're seeing him coming out there with his little family. It's already done. That guy is the best point guard in the game of basketball right now. So if we're looking at East or West going into the playoffs, he is the best point guard in the playoff picture. So when we take a little bit of a, if we pan out a bit, how do we look at it in terms of just players? So Jokic, you know, all around what he does for his team is tremendous, right? He's doing pretty much the same thing that Brunson's doing for New York. He's doing for Denver, and he has been for a consistent for a long time. And then following that, you have to give respect to um, Anthony Edwards. I really like him. I really like that. I just like his aggression. I like his skill along with the athleticism that he has. And I don't know if he's higher than Brunson, but his team is, they're number 2 in the West. They were vying for number 1. So I think if I'm looking at the playoff positioning and the players that are involved in those teams, I'm just putting them out there. So it's like Jokic is Edwards being really good. Then you're looking on the East, obviously Tatum. Somewhere Brown is there because Brown plays a second fiddle there, but he's not a Brunson to that team. But he definitely is a tremendous asset to that team. But I'm not going to put him in there yet in the top of the rankings yet. So you have Tatum for them, and then you have Milwaukee is in there with Giannis, and then you got Brunson. And so if you're looking at that group, I'm thinking that those are the top in the play going into the playoffs. Then you got New York, who's vying for that second. So you have to compare him to a Giannis or an Anthony Edwards on that side. I put Brunson as the best point guard going into the playoffs against that field of playoff contributors. I'm thinking that Brunson's like number 3. I'm thinking Brunson number 3. If you give me Giannis, for what their impact is to their team, I'm thinking it could be Jokic, Giannis, and Brunson, and then you get Tatum, and then Anthony Edwards. That's how I'm looking at it.
Okay, where do you have him, Jai?
You're
muted. You're muted.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a ranking exactly. But I know that I've been saying that he's the best point guard in the East for a long time. Because I really don't like the way Damian Lillard is playing. And that's the only person that can really contend for that spot. I think Damian Lillard is vastly overrated this season. And he's turning into a player that's not what he used to be and not fun to watch at all. But one thing I really wanted to say about Brunson is that the way in which he's scoring last year compared to this year, and I think that's what the change was for me, is that it's not as, I don't like laborious, like it's he's not really getting banged up down low and showing it in the play. He's getting into his motion, he's getting to his rhythm and just scoring methodically. It's like it's very simple for him to get these 45-point games. That's why when he has 45, you don't notice, because he's not fighting for 45. He's just doing it. I think that that's a skill that it's like, for me, when you look at scorers right now, if you look at the top 3 seeds on each side, people that can do that without it looking like they're doing much, I'm going to extend it a little bit past the top 3. Luka, Jokic, and Brunson for me, of just effortless scoring. And in the clutch moments when the team needs you to win, who can show up, it's also those 3 guys for me. So I would rather do tiers than rankings. I put Brunson in that S tier with Jokic and Luka.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think that there's a legitimate case that Brunson is no worse than like the 6th player heading into the playoffs and as good as the 3rd. I would say the only 2 that I would put in front of him, honestly, I don't even know. I guess maybe defensively, you could say that Giannis has a bigger impact, but I just think in terms of that, like, just the Knicks literally go a lot of the time as Brunson goes. And I think for that, you could even argue Brunson over Giannis. And I would say the only two that I would playoff wise even consider as over Brunson would be Jokic and Luka. Obviously, I mean, Jokic speaks for himself. He's an NBA cheat code. Like if the Nuggets ended up winning it all this year again, would be one of the least surprising. I've been saying it for the whole season. Like, yeah, they're probably going back to back. Like people kind of forget about them. I think they were hovering around like the 3 and 4 seed a little bit, for different parts of the year, and then you look up at the end of the season, who's the 1 seed? Who's looking really good. I mean, who they were neck and neck with Minnesota last night, pretty much the whole game, and then it's like, Denver just flips a switch and they just start playing just effortless, perfect basketball. It's really ridiculous to watch. And again, Jokic is the engine for that, offensively and defensively. I don't think Jokic gets enough defensive credit. Like, I think people just think he sucks at defense because he's big and like fatter, but like he's actually he's a smart guy, so he knows he might not always get a block shot, but he'll be in the right places a lot of the time, and there's something to be said for that. And then Luka, I think he averages like 35 a game in the playoffs. Like, no, obviously Brunson was the guy who kind of had to pull a Luka when Luka got hurt for the Mavs, but still Luka's the OG. And I think Luka is one of, he's got a case for MVP this year. I don't know why he's really not getting that bump. I guess it's because they're the 5 seed, and I think people were really rubbed the wrong way by Russell. Like, revisionist history is making people upset that Russell Westbrook ever won that MVP. And I think because of that, people are really trying to shy away from that and get back to the old thinking of, best player on a 1 or maybe even 2 seed, which I guess is why Luka maybe has fallen by the wayside in terms of MVP consideration. But I think he's got as good a case as anyone. But then after those two, I don't know who if you want to say maybe, like, if you just want to pay respects just because they've been there, done that, LeBron and Steph, but they got to play in the play-in. But after those guys who were the most proven, after Jokic and I guess maybe Giannis, there's nobody that I want to take on my team before Jalen Brunson in the playoff field. I think he's been that good. I think he's also heating up at the right time.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to score a bunch of points, but I think he's literally, since Thanksgiving, I think he has 8 40-point games. I'd argue half of them have come in the past like 2.5, 3 weeks. Like, he's just been on this heater. He's been rolling and just been gradually, like, this is just becoming an everyday expectation. Which leads me to the next topic I wanted to discuss specifically regarding Brunson, which was my buddy Chris. I don't think you guys have met him, but one of my good friends, Chris, he said that the run that Brunson's on right now feels eerily similar to the rise of Steph Curry in a way. He said he's obviously not maybe as good of a player, like he's not like the greatest shooter ever type labels or anything like that. But in terms of, Steph Curry's not small, but people always say that he's small because he's light skinned, and he's skinny. But it's like, okay, small point guard, plays like one, smallest guy on the team, leads the charge, having all these big scoring games, team making a legit playoff push for the first time in, a long time. And he said that, and it does kind of feel like that. Now, obviously, Steph won MVP in 2015, but he really took off in like that 2013, 2014 season. And now Brunson, this is kind of his, if you want to maybe say if it's his 2014/2015 version of Steph Curry, obviously watered down. No one is comparing and saying Jalen Brunson is better than Steph Curry in any way. But do you guys feel that sentiment? Would you say that this is kind of the, ascension of Brunson into not just stardom, but potentially superstardom? Like, I don't know how much you guys watch Nick Wright or First Fox Sports, but he says in the NBA, there's 15 superstars. Like, it's a club superstar. Right. And guys enter and exit the club based on their performances. would you consider that Brunson right now is having a rise, that Steph Curry-esque rise, and might even be crawling maybe into superstardom?
I think Jai's up. So Jai, what you got? Then I can go after that, but I already know my answer.
Yeah, I think Brunson's a superstar right now, but I do want to. We're talking about awards and awards consideration, and something that just thinking of the Warriors and the Splash Brothers and this sort of brotherhood that's building here in New York. There's an award that the Knicks have had a player get in the last 4 years, most improved player. And I don't think that Dante DiVincenzo is getting enough recognition for the leap that he's made since he was on the Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that a really, really underrated aspect of Brunson not only is obviously chemistry with the guys he played with in college, but him recognizing, or maybe this is coaching, recognizing the importance of building a two-man chemistry with players in different lineups. Like his chemistry with well, back when Josh was did Josh come off? Yeah, Josh came off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
Yep.
yeah. And establishing that chemistry with Josh off the bench so that when they had those minutes together, they were working really well as a two-man. And Isaiah Hartenstein. I think that's something that Twitter's picking up on too. Hartenstein and Brunson have really, really great chemistry. So not only is a superstar supposed to do individual performance, are they supposed to be above and beyond, but they're supposed to uplift their team as well. And Brunson has, Tibbs had an established culture. Brunson has built on that, and all the flaws of the Tibbs culture have sort of been mended by Brunsonism. So I think that, I think that, yeah, I think I love the idea that he's even getting better, and that, we're looking at maybe 30 points per game seasons in the future for Brunson, because I really do think he's that good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you're in agreement there, Reek.
I told you, bro. I'm already at fanatic levels with this guy. And yes, with that club you're talking about. So shout to Nick Wright. I know he's also a Syracuse guy, right?
Yes, sir. Go Orange, baby.
Yeah. His assessment, I believe, is absolutely right. You have 15 guys that are superstars in this league, and you have 15 guys that are stars. And then you got 5 guys that are superstars generally. And you're like, and you're right. There is that rotation, and that's your all NBA teams. So, do we think Brunson's going to be all NBA this year? Like, I'm saying he's the top point guard in the league. Then there are politics that are involved. So, they're not going to bump out, Dame, because you saw that in the All-Star voting, right?
Well,
So
the All NBA is positionless this season.
Oh, it's positionless, right? So I know that has also changed. So, yeah, is Brunson one of those top 15? That it all depends now if he gets on team 1, team 2, or team 3. We've seen Julius Randle get on team 2, and I think team 3 all NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the question is not if Brunson is one of those top 15, but where do they rate him on that top 15? And I think he's one of the top 5. The gentleman, if right now what I read that they have him in the top 6 of All-Star voting. I mean, I'm sorry, of MVP voting, then there's no question that he is, to me, a superstar in this league on first team All NBA. He has been on. I mean, when you look at it, you think about it. You think, why do people love Michael Jordan the way they do? Because he delivered no matter what, every single time he delivered. And you take a look at LeBron. Why his consistency? He's always delivering. I mean, maybe he doesn't get all the wins in the finals, but damn, he was there 10 times in a row, right? With in some cases, he went to the finals with a me out there, D out there, Jai, and he's in the finals. I mean, he had finals with Eric Snow as the point guard. No disrespect to Eric Snow, but this was a lot. So Brunson is doing the same type of thing right now. we don't have anybody that's horrible like that, but the two of you even are concerned about the contributions that Mitch makes on the offensive side of the ball. This guy's giving you zero offense, or Hartenstein could give you, I don't know, 7 points a game at the center position on the court, and that's okay as long as he does other things. And we're winning. We're winning a lot of battles. We might win 50 games. We're close. I think if we win out the next,
I think we gotta win our last 3. We're at 47 right now.
We're gonna win our last 3 games. We have 50 wins for this season. Like you guys are saying, who else has 50 wins? Dallas just finished with 50 wins. They got games to go, but they got a 50 game win season right now, and they have Kyrie Irving, a former champion, and Luka Doncic. We got Jalen Brunson. Not to disrespect the other guys, because like you said, Dante DiVincenzo shooting from 30-something% to 40, over 40 in the season. We got one of the greatest defenders. I think, when it all shakes out, it's going to be an OG Anunoby, especially working with Tibbs. Hartenstein is having a fantastic season. But nobody's signing up for those guys as your starting 5 of a playoff team. With Josh Hart going out there getting all these triple doubles. Nobody's signing up for that in the beginning of the year. You're not believing that that's going to happen. I don't care what basketball aficionado you are. This guy is incredible. So I could talk all day about him, but that's what I think.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I got to defend Eric Snow. I love him on Twitter. And he went to the finals twice. So
that's right. He went with Iverson too, right?
Yeah, I got to defend him a little bit. Yeah.
Shout out Eric Snow. But yeah, I really do think. I think this is when my boy said that, it really did make me think. Like when Curry came on the scene, it did feel like this. Where like every other day, it's like, damn, Curry had 40. Damn, Curry had 50. Damn, Curry had 40 again. Damn, Curry had 47. Like it's just that's kind of what Brunson. I mean, we won the game so comfortably. I don't think people realize Brunson had 45 points. Like I guarantee you, if you were to ask somebody, like, because I look, but if you were to just ask somebody who's a Knicks fan, like I could probably ask my dad. I bet you he would know if he didn't look it up. Like it's really wild what he's doing, and like Nick Wright, his club superstar. I mean, Brunson, I think I would be, without sounding biased, I would be pretty shocked if he didn't make first team, because I think the first team to me, Jokic, Shea, Luka, and I'm trying to think. I don't want to. Oh, and maybe like Tatum, right? But then after that, who you gonna put? Dame? No. Who you gonna put?
They would try Giannis because he was an MVP, but he was
but Giannis, he's
to down to not on first team. That's what I mean. The politics.
Yeah, the politics of like guys that we know, and Brunson has not really gotten the benefit of the doubt. So I'm not expecting him to make the first team, but I can't think that there's anybody after those 4 guys that has some grand case for that last first team spot over Brunson. Because I've seen somebody say maybe LeBron, love LeBron, but I mean, they're the 10 seed right now, or they're the 9 seed. And obviously, there's more to basketball than just one guy, but I mean, it's not like people love the Knicks roster either. Like you just said, Reek, it's not like people, there's not a lot of people that are signing up for Isaiah Hartenstein as your starting center with Josh Hart as your starting
small forward.
Yeah. Or even a guy that you rely on.
And that guy's about 6'3".
Yeah. So I really think that Brunson has a legitimate case to be a first team All-NBA guy. I'm not banking on it, but at worst, he's second team. And for that, I think, this is kind of that meteoric rise. It just makes me excited and interested in what the future can hold for Jalen Brunson, because I mean, if he's already this good, how old is he? What is he,
27, I think.
7? Okay, yeah. So he's 27. So he's got at least, everyone thinks of 30 differently. I always say once a guy turns 30, they just get a little smarter. So we're about 3 years away from Brunson just turning into a good player that's just a little bit smarter. So we can still rely on some of his athleticism and things like that now. and that, that quickness and whatnot, because he is really twitchy, really underrated twitchy kind of player. But yeah, I think he's really ascending into that, superstardom, and it's pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah. So he's going into his prime right now, and he is, one of the biggest factors that I look at when guys are ascending into that superstardom realm, because like your guy is saying, Chris, yes, he is having a Steph Curry type ascension because there's still room for Brunson to even become better, right? And when you start really looking at the stats, like I think Jai mentioned it earlier, he's not struggling to get to the basket. Steph, one of the things that we all remember about Steph was that he's bombing threes, and everybody's talking about he's shooting half-court threes, and it was masterful. But he was also leading the league in field goals in the paint because of his ball handling. He's shooting, he's doing layups like Kyrie, and Brunson has joined that group. That's an elite layup package that this guy has, man. And he goes into the floater, so he can continue to do that at a very high
For a long
level
time, yeah.
for a long time, and because he's not relying on threes, he's just hit. I don't know about you guys, but when he's hitting some of these threes, I find myself watching a game being like, "Oh shit!" Like,
oh no, there's Brunson's good for like a oh my god, like every game,
yeah.
like oh wow.
Like now, you two know how much I shoot when we play basketball. He's taking shots that I can't even see coming. I'm like, what? I mean, he's dribbling at the top of the key, looking over the offense.
And he'll like be looking around at everybody, and then just all of a sudden he's up. I'm like, what? And it goes in.
What happened?
What happened? You just muted, Reek. You back? Oh, wait, you're
muted still.
You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I think we're getting some feedback for a second.
Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, it's a sometimes the shots this guy takes and makes.
Yeah.
And it's becoming consistent on big threes.
Yes. So shout out Jalen Brunson. I mean, just man, he's been everything the Knicks have needed and more. So really excited to see just how that pans out in the playoffs. But to end this episode, because I do want to let us wrap things up in time for the game tonight. And also the starters for the Celtics will be playing. At least they'll be starting the game. I don't know how long they're going to play, but they will be starting the game. So that'll be a good test to see how that matches up. But I wanted to play a little bit of a game. I don't think we'll have time to gauge take the temperature yet. So we'll save that for next week. But for now, I do want to play kind of a game per se, not really a game, but like I do want to ask you guys thoughts depending on where the Knicks finish. So we're fighting for the second seed. Milwaukee could very well drop a couple with Giannis being out, and we could pass them as the 2 seed. If that were to happen, we would get a Philly or Miami situation. Or basically we get a play-in team. Or no, we would get Philly or Miami because they're the winner of that because of 7 seed. So we would get Philly or Miami. If we were the 3 seed, we would get Indy. If we were the 4 seed, we would get Orlando. Or we could get Cleveland. So based on these 5 teams, I want you guys to rank 1 through 5, 1 being biggest concern, 5 being I'm not worried about these guys. Who are you most worried about in a potential first round matchup? Because like I said, we've avoided the play-in. So the lowest we can fall to is 6. But as we are right now, and I completely doubt it, we could fall below. We could fall to in that 4 or 5 seed, depending on how things shake out. But rank 1 through 5, and we can start with whoever wants to go first. Feel free, just chime in. But where would you rank who you most want to play versus who you would least want to play? So 1 being the least, 5 being these guys are not worried.
So the 5 teams, like the other 5 teams.
So the 5 teams that our potential first round matchups right now are Cleveland, Orlando, Indiana, Philly, and Miami. So those 5 teams, I believe that's 5. Let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, those 5 teams are the possible matchups depending on where things shake out. Like if the Knicks make the 2, they could end up playing, Philly or Miami, or if Philly ascends, it could be Indiana or Miami. But just any combination of those 5 teams is basically who's on the docket for the Knicks. So ranking those 5 teams, who would you least want to play at the top at number 1 versus who would you most want to play at number 5?
Okay. I'm gonna go. I don't know if I have the right 5 teams, but these are the first 5 that came to my mind. I accidentally put something in the chat because I had to write it down. The least want to play, I'm not as strong as you guys, Miami Heat. The history is repeating itself for the 3rd year in a row. People are like, the Heat fans are feeling bad. They're sliding at the end of the season. They're going into the play and with injury concerns and with no momentum at all. And at a certain point, you just have to accept what's going to happen. But they either play Milwaukee again or the Celtics. If they play Milwaukee, they're probably going to come out of that series, if I'm being honest. So he at least want to play. After that, I'm going to go with, this is an odd pick, Pacers, because that is to me, the best coach against Tibbs because of the offensive prowess of that team and some of the things that our defense struggles with. And we could really get surprised by some not random, but by some role players hitting some key threes, like we got in trouble with Miami with Max Strus and I can't remember the guy's name, Caleb, the twin. Caleb Martin. So that's Pacers number 2. Then after that, I have the Sixers, just because Embiid is just big, and Hartenstein always gets into foul trouble, and Mitch can't defend Embiid. Is like one of his few weaknesses defensively. And then after that, getting into really want to play, we have Magic, just because I just feel like they're us in 2021. And then I have number 1, really want to play Cleveland because they're imploding.
Okay.
But I don't know if I did that right. But
no, it works. No, you explained it. I followed you. But yeah, that works. Okay, interesting. The Indiana, that's an interesting way to look at it. Our games this year have been pretty competitive with Indiana. I think maybe there was one time maybe they might have got us pretty good, but every other time it's been a really competitive game. And they are tough to stop because I know we're known for our defense, but I think they probably scored at least 110 on us like every time. They score 110 on everybody. But Reek, where do you stand as far as who do you most want to play versus least want to play?
Most want to play. Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I'm good. All right. Most want to play. Yeah. I'm looking, so that's why my eyes are down. Most want to play. I feel confidently against the Cavs. I think I'm not worried about the Cavs at all. I think we kind of own them from a like if it's chess, from a material advantage. I think we just have better pieces than they do. So yeah, with that. So then again, moving down the list, I think right in the order. If it's the Magic, I think they're still young. They are a developing team. They do have a lot of height and length, but you can't play all of them in a playoff series. Like, you're not going to continue to get the big kid that whines all the time. He just gets on my nerves. But Wagner, the Wagner kid, he's just so annoying to me. I would really love to see the Knicks beat up on them. But I think now that we have Mitch back, it's a completely different scenario against them. Our height sort of trumps what they can bring to the table. And now we got OG Anunoby there as well. So I don't think that they're a real competitive force against us. We're going least to best case for us to worst.
Okay.
That Pacers team, for the same reasons Jai outlined, that Pacers team, again, I think that some of the guys, what we've seen, they have a tremendous offense. But what we've seen throughout the season is that, they're getting contributions from all over the place. You're having 3 or 4 guys just having, when people come into the garden, when teams come into the garden and some random guy just goes off with a bomb and threes, yeah, he looks good. But this team against us this year, you've had multiple guys going off against us. And again, once we get down into that playoff roster, that's what playoffs is about. I can't have multiple guys, but I need to at least have one guy that I know is going to go off. And it's going to be Tyrese Halliburton because he's got to be out there. And then who else is it? Give me another guy, because other than that, somebody else, you don't have that opportunity or that autonomy to just have guys rotating in there and just letting some guy bomb a three. Now now that next guy coming off the bench got to go against OG on the perimeter, or Deuce McBride on the perimeter. Now he's not coming in the game getting 4 threes off. So they move a little bit down from that 3 position for me, because I got to make room for Philly. I'm just really if I'm being realistic, Embiid is a monster, and I know we've been able to contain him to a degree, right? And he will be coming off an injury, but that guy can really play basketball. The only thing that I'm annoyed about with Embiid is just that he's shooting jumpers all the time, and he's a little bit heavy for me as far as a basketball player is concerned. But he's a tremendous basketball player, and he, coupled with Halliburton, I think they move into like into that position for me where what is it, so I guess Indiana stays the same, and then it's Philly, and then it's Miami. Stylistically, for me, the worst team to play in the playoffs, stylistically for us, is the Miami Heat, because the Miami Heat know how to play physical basketball without getting foul calls, and they can grind the game to a complete halt. And what is our biggest concern right now? We only have Brunson as a scorer. They will throw 4 guys at Brunson and force our other guys to score with a hand in their face or an elbow on their body. That's very difficult to have to hit the shot. I got to hit it at the end of the shot clock. And we see that that's what we do. We struggle against that. When our offense isn't clicking, we're getting shot clock violations. Teams are playing us very physical, and they're pushing us out toward the half court line on our offense. And Miami stylistically is the team that does that to us consistently. And, they just speed up the game, and they're not afraid to send double teams across the board to everybody. And can Dante be that guy that's going to get us 25 a night? I don't know. He has it physical. He has the capability, but can we count on that every night?
Yeah.
Can we count on another guy to give us 25? So my order is like it is. I think Cleveland, I don't care. Magic, I don't care. I mean, Magic, probably I care less about Magic than I do Cleveland. And then that Pacers team, I still have them in the 3rd range where, I'm not really that scared of them. But Philly, that Embiid factor is huge. That Embiid factor is huge for me. And then, but Miami stylistically, it's tough. It's in a playoff series. It's very tough. It's like a mirror image, but they just know how to turn it up a little, that physicality, more than we do in many cases. So yeah, that's my rank or rating or ranking or whatever it is.
I feel like I might be going kind of in reverse per se. But it's really just that Indiana, because Indiana is one of those teams where, like, I feel like, kind of like you, Reek, where it's like, okay, I have them at 3 range, but I can go either way, because like they maybe could be more dangerous than I'm giving them credit for. And I'll try and move quick here, because the game will probably be starting in like 5 minutes. But for me, I'm not worried about, so at 5, Cleveland. Not worried about Cleveland. Like you said, I think we just have a better team than them. I mean, they play well. They've had success in the regular season the last couple of years, but they just don't worry me. I mean, we play them in the regular season. We take care of them. It's not a big deal anytime we match up. I think Garland has taken a step back, which has in turn hurt Mitchell, which has in turn hurt the whole rest of the team, because now you're asking Donovan Mitchell to carry a huge load, and even he's been dealing with some really strange injuries this year. So not worried about Cleveland. This might come as a surprise, and it might sound weird because you guys outlined good reasons why we should be worried. I would have Miami. I don't know what it is, The only reason I think we lost to Miami this year or last year, it's not because of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy was neutralized the entire, even when he was playing, he got locked up by Quentin Grimes on one leg. Like Quentin Grimes literally just banged his knee or he twisted his knee the possession before, and Jimmy could do nothing. Jimmy was not. I just hope people. I don't know why people don't acknowledge this. After that Milwaukee series, Jimmy was not very good. He was like 21 a game, which is like forgetting the playoff Jimmy. You got to be better than 21 a game after one series. He went nuclear against Milwaukee. Nothing but respect. He went nuclear against Chicago in that play-in game. After that, he was largely nothing. And then he had that moment in game, was it
6 against the Celtics?
Yeah, or like the game when Grant Williams said something to him. It might have been like game 3 because Miami
was early
on.
on.
So it was early on because Miami was up 3-0. So it must have been, oh, you know what? It was game 2. It was game 2 because Miami was on the road. So it was game 2 and Grant Williams said something to Jimmy, and then Jimmy scored like 12 points in a row, whatever it was. Other than that, what did Jimmy? He didn't do anything in the finals. He was very garbage in the finals.
Horrible.
Was very pedestrian against Boston. Didn't do much against us. He missed a game, maybe he missed 2, but they looked fine without him. With all due respect. And then the only good series he had where you were like, wow, this guy's incredible, is against Milwaukee. That's it. So I'm not worried about Miami. I don't think Tyler Hero was a good playoff performer. I don't think Bam Adebayo scares any of our bigs. Like Embiid, there's a fear factor with Embiid that doesn't exist, in my opinion, with Bam Adebayo. I also think we don't shy away. Our guards were attacking him last year in the postseason, so there's no fear there. So and Jimmy Butler, I think Jimmy Butler's a funny guy. I respect him. I think he's a good player, but I'm not so convinced that playoff Jimmy is so big and bad. Like I don't worry about. I would actually want to, if we end up at the 2 and Miami comes out at 7, give me Miami. I don't think they're that good. Plain and simple. I do see your hesitations with playing Miami, Reek, but I just personally, I don't think Miami's that good. They don't bother me. But then in that 3, I would put Indiana, because again, I do think I'm not worried, but at the same time, it's like I wouldn't be shocked if we went into a series where every game is 131 to 111, and whoever can go on that big scoring run in that game will most likely win that game, because once that run gets going, every shot's gonna fall, and unless you can go shot for shot long enough, you're probably gonna lose that game. So Indiana's kind of in that tweener, spot for me. Haven't really seen Halliburton in a playoff setting yet, at least not yet. So I'm interested in that. I mean, we've seen kind of his struggles in the second half of the season ever since, I think it was that injury. I think it was a hip injury or a hamstring injury. Yeah, hamstring. He suffered a hamstring injury, and he's kind of been teetering. He had 30 last game, but he hasn't really been in the playoff setting yet. So got to see what happens there. And then my 2 that I most don't want to play is 2 would be Orlando. And I know, Jai, you said you would compare Orlando to us in 2021. And I like that comparison. I just think that they're actually they're like us, the mirror is there, the similarities are there. I just think they're just better. I think, they have a better point guard than Elfrid Payton. They wouldn't be, we were relying on Derrick Rose, with horrible knees. We couldn't do it. There were points we couldn't do anything if Derrick Rose was on the floor. I think Orlando is, they got Paolo Banchero, and Paolo Banchero is miles better than anybody on that 2021 team. So I think they got him. He's really good. Paolo, I think, would be a problem.
Better than Randall in that season?
I think so. With all due, I think it actually, I won't say better than Randall, but I think in terms of when we talked about shot diet this year, I think Banchero's style translates to the playoffs better now than what Randall was trying to do in 21. I think Randall was still in that step back, I gotta shoot jumpers and shoot over double teams mode. I don't think Paolo does that. I think he's really developed as a scorer, and I think he's also really, over the course of the season, developed as a passer. I wouldn't want to play the Magic, and I think Franz is a really good number 2/3. And also Jonathan Isaac, he only plays like 15 minutes, and he's really, really weird. And I really don't like him. Like, this is gonna be honest, I don't like him. He's very strange. He's got those weird, super right wing agendas. And I don't really care about, like, okay, if you're right wing, we don't gotta agree on everything, but like, hey man, like, he's just really weird about it. Something about him rubs me the wrong way. So, but that being said, he is an unbelievable defender. Like, he is 6'10". Insanely good at, and he's like 6'10". Yeah. And I wouldn't be shocked that if we played Orlando, I wouldn't be shocked that they, like, when Jonathan Isaac was in the game, he's guarding Brunson. And with all due respect to Brunson, and with all due respect to Brunson, it's hard to move on 6'10". It's hard to score in 6'10" that can move just as fast as you. So that would be very, very tough. So I would put Orlando.
That's 6'10" going into Franz, who's 6'11".
Right. Right. So I would put Orlando in that 2 spot if who I don't want to play. And the team I most wouldn't want to play is Philly. And I know I clown Embiid for this playoff performances, but I actually do think, like, just thinking about that game we played against them, that was like the worst basketball game ever played. I think it was like 79-73. I think about that game often, and I think about how much that's just Nick Nurse. Like, people kind of forgot, I think, how good of a coach Nick Nurse is. And in a playoff setting, I wouldn't want to go up against Embiid with Nick Nurse as his coach and Maxey being who he is now. Because I think what you're seeing is like the beginning. Because I think Maxey can still even tap into another gear after the season. Like, you've got a budding Maxey, Embiid is Embiid, and then you've got guys who know what they're doing and they're coached well by Nick Nurse. That's a very, very, very tough proposition, especially in the first round. And again, these are all being considered as first round, opponents, because beyond that, I always think you're playing with house money, because teams feel different after series, teams realize different things after certain series. So everything changed out of the first round, but that first round sets the tone. And those 2 teams, Philly and Orlando, would be tough teams to set the tone against. I know Orlando's young as well, but I'm not one who believes in, like, age matters, but like, if you're good enough, you're good enough, right? Like, you might not rise to the occasion, but it's not just because you're 20. Like, it's because you didn't rise to the occasion. But yeah, that's how I would rank those 5 teams as far as first round opponents. And that's where we're going to end this episode, because the Knicks are probably just tipping off. If I check, they are tipping off. They're currently up 16-14 on TNT. So we're going to get out of here, and I'm sure we'll all be tapped into the game. But that'll do it for episode 8. If you're watching, thank you for watching. Please leave a like, a comment, subscribe. We appreciate all the love. New episodes every week. We're not stopping this train anytime soon. We got to at least get to 10, and then we'll get to 20. We're hitting our milestones. We're hitting our goals. Appreciate y'all for watching, and we will catch you next time.
Go Knicks.